What's going on, guys? Today we're going to touch on the subject of the next Nintendo Switch and how it's going to compare to both the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. Now, the reason I'm talking about this today is because I actually own a Nintendo Switch and I love my Nintendo Switch, which is why I follow creators who are Nintendo Switch fans. And when I say they're Nintendo Switch fans, I mean that's all they play. They don't play anything else. These guys are totally dedicated when it comes to video games to the Nintendo Switch. But there are a couple of them, and I want to be clear here, I don't think that they're lying. I have no reason to believe that they're lying or trying to deceive people intentionally. I just think that by them being so dedicated to the Switch and never really looking into anything else, I think that they're just kind of misguided, and I think that they're unintentionally giving away information that isn't true. So I'm not even going to bother to name them because, you know, it's never my intent to like call out people. This is not a call out video. However, I do want to get some things clear that seems to be misunderstood by a lot of people who are dedicated to the Switch, which is nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. But one of the things that I've seen a lot of these creators saying is that the current Switch and the next Switch will be really a better device than both the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck, basically focusing on the battery life. In other words, what they're basically saying is that, yeah, they're putting all of these new components in it, they're going for all this power, and as a result, they're going to end up falling short in comparison to the current Nintendo Switch and the next Nintendo Switch especially. But the thing that these guys aren't understanding is that the Nintendo Switch is dedicated to certain types of games. Sometimes they get older AAA games on the Switch, but a lot of those games are running through the cloud. The Nintendo Switch is basically an indie dedicated game. Excuse me, it is a indie dedicated piece of hardware. When you play indie games on the Steam Deck, and I don't have a ROG Ally in my hands as of yet, I have one ordered, but I have also been looking at trusted testers who are playing indie games on the ROG Ally. The ROG Ally and the Steam Deck on most indie games running on high performance settings, going for anywhere from 60 to 120 frames per second, everything just turned up to the max, gets anywhere from 3 to 7 hours worth of gameplay. Now, the ones where they get 3 hours is usually those indie games like Vampire Survivors or Lone Ruin or something like that, that's constantly moving, you know, that they have objects constantly moving around on the screen. They're very intense. And keep in mind, again, the reason why they get about 3 hours of gameplay, even with those games, is because most of the people who own the Steam Deck, and I believe future owners of the ROG Ally are going to be the same way, it's because they have everything turned up. They're going for all they can get out of it. They got everything full blast turned all the way up with indie games because they can do that with the indie games and still get fantastic gameplay out of it. So you don't see anybody with a Steam Deck, and I don't think you're gonna see anybody with a ROG Ally unless they're like on a road trip or something like that, and maybe they left their charger at home or something like that. I don't think you're going to see anybody turning settings down to, like for example, FPS. I don't think you're going to be saying, well, we're going to max out at 30. I don't think you're going to be seeing that. But it's not about turning it down to 30 on the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch, put it this way, it has become totally acceptable for even their latest games to run at 30 FPS. And yes, the Nintendo Switch does have a very good battery life, but that's why. But with the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck, you can take those exact same indie games, pump them up to 60 to 120 FPS, and you can still experience very good battery life.
The low end of TDP drastically changes. For instance, look at the total system power at 5.5 watt TDP. When we do the math, this would equal 5.5 to 6 hours of battery life, which is pretty much the same as a Steam Deck running Dead Cells at 60 FPS. However, getting to a solid 120 FPS, look what happens with total system power. When we do the math, we are now at 3.5 to 4 hours of battery life. As a percentage, choosing to go from 120 FPS to 60 FPS in Dead Cells would equal a 57% increase in battery life. Or another way of looking at it is choosing to go from 60 FPS to 120 FPS would see a 36% decrease in battery life.
So with some tinkering here and some tinkering there, most PC handheld owners are going to try to get indie games to run anywhere from 60 FPS to 120 FPS. This is not even a thing on the current Nintendo Switch, and especially 120 FPS, I don't think it'll be a thing on the next Nintendo Switch. Here's where I think the next Nintendo Switch will be technologically. And I'm gonna keep this really simple because, hey, I'm a simple guy. I'm not a tech guy. I don't know a lot about tech. I think that the next Nintendo Switch will definitely be more powerful than the one that's out now, naturally. And I'm gonna give you an example of where I think it will be. You know how a lot of older AAA games get ported to the Switch and, you know, they end up having to be played in the cloud? I think that will no longer be necessary. I think you will be able to take older AAA games that are anywhere from 3 to 6 years old or older, port those things over to the Switch, and I think you'll be able to play them. I think you'll be able to download them right onto the Switch and play them. Most of them are going to run at 30 FPS. That's totally going to be fine because it's a small screen, and 30 FPS just, you know, it isn't a bad experience on a small screen. I think that Nintendo will continue to play their area of the field in the industry. I think they will continue to master their area of the field in the industry. I think one of the dumbest things that PlayStation and Xbox did was they set expectations so high that people expect for their games to look like movies. It's not enough for the gameplay to be totally awesome. Like right now, Xbox could make a game, it could be an indie game, the gameplay could be totally addictive, it could even sell, it could break records, it wouldn't matter. And there would be like the game could be so great that even journalists who typically hate Xbox would write articles saying that the game was great, but just wait for it, because somewhere in that article there's going to be that but, because of the expectation for these two companies to always make games that look like movies. I don't think Nintendo wants any part of that. Wisely, by the way. Nintendo is, when they make their next machine, I think that they're mostly going to be concerned with how are our games going to play on our next machine. And I think that their games will be playing at 60 FPS, but I think they have no interest, again, wisely, to compete with the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. I think it would definitely be a great machine. I'm probably going to end up getting it, but I think that Nintendo has found success at what they do. They have become the master of indie style games, and they know that the expectation for them is to just keep pumping out those kind of games. And I think that Nintendo is wisely going to continue that trend, and I don't think that they're interested in changing it at all whatsoever. I think that with the advancement in cloud gaming, by the way, if you haven't played it, I suggest that you do. Cloud gaming has come a long way. I tested it not that long ago and was pleasantly surprised to see how well it performed. I think that on the next Nintendo Switch, you won't be able to play the newer AAA games directly. I don't think you'll be able to download them directly onto the hardware and play them, but I think you will be able to play new AAA games in the cloud, and I think that the performance will be very good. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'll be interested in hearing your opinion down in the comments. As usual, please keep it respectful, and hey guys, if you like the video, give it a like. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you get some time, guys, share the video. But until next time, stay safe.